last week, they were completely rammed. They were filled up to the gunnels, they were queuing down the street. They said, you should have been here last week. I swear, you should have been here last week. Oh yeah, you should have been here last week.
Welcome to the latest edition of You Should Have Been Here Last Week, the comedy podcast presented by myself, Steve Gribbin, and fellow comedian Paul Ricketts.
Hello.
You Should Have Been Here Last Week clears away the dry ice from the comedy stage to slowly peer behind and look at the chances, the prancers, the romancers, the dark, the sharks, the bleak, the meek, the accelerators, the innovators, and the agitators that make up this industry that we call comedy. And today's show is a special edition all about the one vital aspect of today's comedy scene, money.
Yeah.
Also known as fees, dosh, please invoice, and that dreaded three-word phrase that all comics know, backs to follow, or as most modern comedians pronounce it, how much? So this episode should actually be called, I think a good title for it would be Show Me the Money.
Yeah, the wages of sin, as I call it.
That's right.
Because we really, for what we do, we deserve more on a nightly, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. More money. So how are we going to get into this? I think there is an article that you pointed me in the direction of. And when you go onto it, it lets you have a look at the article for less than 5 seconds. Continue reading. You're lucky to get a £30 gig. How much stand-up comedians really earn. And then there's a big sign that goes over the article saying, please subscribe for £1 to read on. And if I'm only earning 30 quid, why am I giving you one of them quids to find out that I'm only earning 30 quid?
It's one of those things that, I mean, people say, oh, one of the most difficult conversations for British people to have is either sex, religion or money. But amongst comics, it's not a difficult conversation because we talk about it all the time, don't we?
Yeah, especially if you're doing a Catholic stripping club. Then you're definitely saying how much? So
basically, what we're talking about is that fact that the fees have remained roughly static for 25 years at least, haven't they? I've been going 42 years as a fully professional comic since 1984, and since about the mid-90s they've remained more or less the same. Whereas, as we know, everything else has remained the same as well. So, like train fares, petrol, food, etc. They've all stayed roughly the same, haven't they?
Yes, indeed. I mean, when you started, of course, you could take those earnings that you got and bought that fine house that you're living in. But now, you wouldn't be able to buy a packet of chips. Wouldn't
be able.
Yeah.
You have to give them back. Yeah. So basically, it's it's a big thing that people in the industry are talking about, isn't it? The fact that the money is just not. You can't sustain a proper living out of it.
Yeah, the cost of living crisis has obviously focused people's minds on how much money that we're getting, because we've had one fantastic bout of inflation in the first cost of living crisis. We're having another one now, and yet the money remains the same. So the song remains the same coming out of comics' mouths. Why can't we increase the money? And you can understand why comics will say this, because ticket prices have gone up. So how come we're not seeing this reflected in our pay packets? Not that we get pay packets. Actually, we do sometimes. The old cash in the envelope being passed to you like it's some sort of drug deal.
Well, the brown envelope thing is, very, very rare now. It's very, very rare, by the way, for anybody on the comedy circuit now to be paid in cash, isn't it?
It still happens. The smaller gigs, the sort of stuff that I do, I still see money. I had to travel all the way, 5 miles in a car to get to the nearest bank just to pay it in.
Don't you have to sign for it, though? Most places now you have to sign for it.
Yeah. Sometimes
So
still
it's-
not. The last gig I did, it was the old envelope, back of the hand. And we're so polite, we don't even count the money in front of the person when we get the money, which is a really big mistake.
Yeah, I know. There was a famous comedy promoter, I won't bring him up anymore, but who deliberately used to underpay people. So you had to count the money in front of him, because if you woke up the next day and it was a tenner short, it'd be very hard to prove otherwise, wouldn't it? Because you didn't check it at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was the right amount when I gave it to you. You sure you didn't spend some on a drink or something?
I noticed the seal's not broken on the envelope. Anyway.
So,
Yes.
comics and exploitation, because I think the two of them are pretty much part of the deal, isn't it?
If you mean by that where you've got criminally low fees, but there will be somebody on the comedy circuit who'll go, I'll do it.
Yeah, and even at every single level of the comedy tree, we should go through them. Even open spots, people who perform for no money get exploited because they have to bring their friends.
The bringers. So is that the lowest one, really, bringers?
Yeah, I think the lowest possible gig you can do is a bringer gig.
Okay, that's bringers then, in which no money is involved whatsoever.
Yeah. I even consider competitions a exploitation, because that also works on the same principle that you're going to bring lots of friends along so that when they do the audience vote, somehow you will win and get through despite the fact you died on your arse.
And of course they'll be spending money in the venue, won't they?
Yeah.
Although having said that, it doesn't necessarily follow that the promoter themselves are going to make any money out of it.
Yeah.
In that sense, but yeah. All right, so we got the bringers, competitions. What's next? Open spots.
Open spot.
But nights, like where everybody's an open spot except for one professional act.
Yeah, which is not so bad because at least the audience will get someone who knows what they're doing. I don't mind them so much. And the promoters, and that's when I will start calling them promoters, is when they're paying somebody. When they're not paying anybody, I don't call them promoters. I call them, well, I won't say what I call them, but it's because that's not promotion. All it is you're helping a pub that can't get any people in it on a Wednesday night get 15 miserable comics in there on a Wednesday night.
How do you know they're miserable?
Have you ever seen Happy Comics?
No. 15. I wonder what the collective noun for a gathering of comics is.
A depression?
A depression. A groan of comics. So you got the open spot nights with the professional at the end, and then you've got like a sort of a professional night where there will be an open spots built into the night as well.
Yeah, which is how the whole thing used to work before the open spot circuit and and comedy courses, which provides a stream of people that want to become comics. Before they started, I mean, that would be back in your day.
That's right.
It would have been that you'd basically sink or swim, wouldn't you? You'd go into these unpaid spots in the middle of a night and find out if you got it or not.
Yeah. I mean, I did that. I did the Gong Show at the Comedy Store many moons ago, and was gonged off once and survived once, but it was absolutely fucking horrible. But the Gong Show is not the whole thing. So now they've spun off, haven't they? Loads and loads of places do different variations of a Gong Show, and once again, nobody gets paid. Obviously. Yeah. Oh, there is a prize at the end of most Gong Shows.
Yeah, they can come back next week and do 10 minutes. Or because sometimes they work like that. The prize is you come back and perform for nothing, but you've got guaranteed time next time. They can't gong you off.
So we've got that. We've got the Gong Shows. Then we've got like the fully professional nights with built-in open spots, and that's probably about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and then once you get through that bit, which I was reading in a Guardian article, they say it should take about 2 years. I know people never get past that stage. And I have no problem about them remaining as open spots for decade after decade. Some of my favourite acts, like Jimbo, was essentially an open spot act since 1970 something. And, still hopefully plugging away somewhere. I've got no problem with that. And with that circuit as a whole, as long as you don't mistake it for being a comedian, it's not quite the real thing.
No. We have to talk about, well, we'll probably get onto this later on, but the one of the things that's happened because of that, the static nature of the fees over 25 years, is that you can't really make a living out of comedy now unless you've got another job.
Yes, a side hustle.
I was about to say that word, but it would sound wrong coming from me. But side
I will
hustle,
tell you
baby.
when the change happened. It was the end of weekend comedy clubs. It was pretty much the demise of jonglers, and then the demise of
highlights.
Yeah, and big promoters saying, "Well, we'll book you for the weekend." I mean, there's not many places that do that now.
Yeah, there's the Glee, the Stand, the Comedy Store, Hot Water. That's it. I think I've run out of. I think that's it, really. I don't know. No.
Yeah, that's all the ones I know.
The Last Laugh in Sheffield as well. But then most of it, as you say, it's more ad hoc now.
Whole Comedy Lounge.
Whole Comedy Lounge, yeah. But as you say, most of it now is one-offs, aren't they?
Yeah, and because in the weekend you'd make lots of money over your weekend, your hotel would be provided, and it's hard not to make money in that situation.
So the thing is that's basically around 2012, wasn't it? That happened.
I think it was
2012.
Yeah, I think it's 2014 when Jonglers went the first time, and then went repeatedly another couple of times. But that was, I mean, people did moan about those nights, and we've moaned about those nights.
Yeah, because some of them were horrible. But you were decently. I felt. And I know there's a lot of snobbishness around jonglers amongst some acts, that it's lowest common denominator, etc., etc. But I felt that at least you felt like you were being paid a decent whack, for playing there, and you could, as you say, you could make money. But it's just not very helpful for younger comics now who are generally are struggling to get the work, to make ends meet.
I think there's probably more nights than there were back in 2014, but they all pay 150 quid seems to be king. Far too popular for closing. Between 150, 200.
I do like it sometimes when they say act wanted to play Kendall. Must have TV credits at 150.
Yeah. Which gets us back to, it's not such a problem if you're a comedian living in Lancaster. Then you do that gig. Getting back to another bugbear that we always say, is that the regionalisation of the circuit has also been part of this. There's more comics everywhere, not just in London, but all over the country. And there's hotbeds of comedy in Newcastle, in Manchester, in Liverpool, in Leeds. Across the whole M62 corridor, there's great comics that now live in those areas, and it's not so much of a London-centric business.
No, which I think is a good thing.
It's a good thing in one way. It's a bad thing in another way, because the money that used to be you could get for doing gigs in the north was more, because it was based on the idea that you had to travel from London, get there, and stay there, and then go home again next day. And so therefore the money was better. The money in all those gigs in the north has also dropped, because there are the comics there to do these gigs.
I mean, I still think that was kind of inevitable that was going to happen, because the dominance of London was went on for far too long, didn't it? Where people would be, and then people expected. See, it works the other way for Northern comics coming to London. They are gobsmacked by. There are quite a few clubs, but they don't pay that well, do they?
No, London clubs
in the capital
have also dropped their monies. They used to pay more. Now they don't.
Yeah. I mean, we have as well that whole thing of offering hotels and stuff, accommodation. Generally, London clubs don't do that. And then lots of the bigger, as you say, the weekend clubs now have gone. So there's all that to factor in as well. I mean, we've done that whole show that we did about travel and how absolutely mind-bogglingly expensive it is now. It's just, especially given the situation that we're in at the moment with the war in Iran. Petrol is now, I don't know how much it is now.
It's 158. But diesel, if anyone who's got a van or a diesel car, that's 198.
Right. So presumably £2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you, you don't travel by train, but it's just, I'm lucky in the sense that I've got a senior rail card now because I'm an old twat. But even then, it's like, I'm looking at because they went up substantially last year by 5%. And it's just, sometimes I'm looking at the difference. It's mind boggling. It's like, if you walked into a train station and said, I want to go to Liverpool from London Euston now, it'd be about £60 on the day.
Yeah.
Which is just, there's no point, is there?
No, not unless you're getting paid a lot of money to do it. And you still got to stay there because you can't get a train back. And there is no hotels offered to anybody anymore. The point is, or one of the points is, so you still live off comedy alone.
Yes.
And I used to live off comedy alone up until fairly recently, even though I used to have lots of little side hustles, which most comics have to sort of survive.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I could survive is that I'm working class, poor background, and I could live on very little money. I've grown up used to being skint. So therefore, comedy, I thought, yeah, this is about the same amount of money I was getting. I actually looked at another one of these articles. They said that the average comic earns about 20,000.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't
if you
surprise
work
me.
in Sainsbury's as a shop assistant, you get 23,000. But obviously, it's not so much of a laugh.
No, I wouldn't think so. No, but then again, that comes back to the nub of the questions of why do people do it, and it's one of those things that we've often talked about this. But when I was many years ago, the equity rep in a theatre company, and the woman that ran the theatre company, they're called Age Exchange Theatre. They're based in Blackheath, and she was a very, very sort of posh, well-off woman, and she kept trying to get everybody to do extra rehearsals for nothing.
For no money.
And I kept saying, no, we're not going to do it. And then they would just go, oh, come on, we do actually need... And I'd be like, that's when I did have her. I'd be like, oh, okay, what's the fucking point then? I'm meant to be on behalf of the union saying, you can't do this. If you want us to do 2 hours extra, we want some money for it.
Happens in comedy. Happens in comedy. I mean, I've done it where the one of the acts has not turned up, and so I've had to go on and do an extra set, which I have the capability to do, and the MC couldn't. So and I did the extra set and sent an email afterwards saying, well, I did this. Could you send me any extra money? And I've never been booked by these people ever again.
I mean, I find that, yeah, that's a bit... Cheers for helping us out.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Comedians and exploitation. And this is a major promoter. That's how they respond for me getting them out of a hole. In a theatre gig with 300 people who've paid a lot of money to come and see comedy, and I go out and do an extra set, pull it off, and then my
Yeah.
reward is never been booked again because I had the temerity to ask them for a little bit of extra money.
You think they would have done it anyway, really, if you
No,
helped them out?
no, they didn't
Oh.
do it. The other act that was involved was too scared to even send the email because I was, said to him driving on the way back, we should do this. We should ask him for extra money because you did a little bit extra before you brought me on. And he goes, well, I don't know. I'm too scared to do that. I'm too scared. And I said, well, I'm not. And I wish I didn't. I wish I was scared.
I mean, yeah, because that's one of the things as well. If you complain, the odds are that you're going to be on some sort of list, aren't you? It feels very much like the Dockers.
Well, it is.
Because we are basically casual labour anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
As in that we've talked about this before, but that the Pro Comedy Gigs page on Facebook is basically just like people hanging around the docks outside with the gates were locked and the foreman would go, you. That's what it feels like.
Yes, it is. With promoters who put their little ads up saying we need TV name, do 20 minutes, £111 in Automukti. Gig starts at 6 o'clock, so you need to get there for 4. And yeah. And then you see all the names going, I'll do it. I'm free. And then they'll make a little comment going, oh, it's good to see so many good comics not working on a Saturday night.
Yeah,
As if they're flexing their muscles in front of your face, aren't they, really? Going, yes.
It's a shame you can't do that thing where, you could have a pseudonym. Because I always feel that is very public display of. We've talked about this before, so, I'm available this Friday and Saturday. You don't want people to know that you're not, that you are available. I don't know.
The only time I did that was with a booker who had lots of gigs, and I sent an email as somebody else asking to book me.
Yeah, you told me this before.
Yeah, and he went, and I said, oh, look, I'm willing to pay £300 to get that fantastic Paul Ricketts on my night. And he goes, well, he's not available at the minute, but he offered me somebody else. And I was free on that night. But weirdly enough, he's then started offering me gigs after that. It was just weird. I don't know how it happened.
Reverse psychology, I don't know. But I mean, I told you that. One of the bugbears, and people don't do it as much, but when people would advertise gigs and not put the money on, that is one of the. I had a big argument with a major promoter who shall not be named, but the gig was in King's Lynn. So I thought, well, I'll do that, and then I applied for it. And this is partly my fault because I should have checked at the money, but the money wasn't there, and I thought, well, at least it's going to be about £200. And it came back and said, yes, it's 120 quid. I went, oh, no.
Yes, I know, when they tell you at the last minute.
And then I just went, I'm not doing it. And then he went mad at me, and said, how dare you? And I said, well, how dare you not put... the reason you didn't put it on there is because you knew that people just go, well, somebody would have done it, but... Yeah,
somebody's always going to do it. And you can't have a go at comedians who say, I'll do that gig. You just can't, because everybody's got to make a living at this business. And why have a go at them if they're prepared to go to Automukti, get there for 4 o'clock and do the gig for £111?
Yeah.
Okay, it's their choice. It's a free market, unfortunately. That's just the nature of the business. So we had Nina on, Nina Benjamin, and she was going, oh, you should have more self-respect. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it. But...
yeah, I know.
If you think you can make a living by doing those gigs, or your ambition is, I've got to do this to become better as a comedian, and I just want a gig, doesn't matter how much, and if I'm only making £30 once you take the travel out of it, that's still £30, and it's something that I love to do and want to do. You can't stop them. The only thing is when we get round to, or how are we going to change this? Because
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much, unless if we accept this, there's a couple of things here. I mean, I will say musicians, even harder to make a living than a comedian. You can be a great musician and still not get paid. Actors, really hard to do it. Artists, it's tougher to make money that you can live off your art. All these things are tougher than doing stand-up comedy. So let's give ourselves a little pat on the back that we haven't got the toughest artistic pursuit. But our main problem is that we have no sense of unity amongst us as a group. And that's the reason why we get exploited. Because we don't. We're all individual sole traders, and all of us think, well, I can do this. We don't need to group together under some sort of collective guild or whatever to represent us as comedians. No one represents. Well, Equity do. But before I go into a big moan about Equity, which I'm going to avoid, because we're going to get someone from Equity to come on in the near future. But despite our struggles to do so in the past, due to, I will mention this, we tried to get the person who's supposed to represent comedians, and has done for something like 26 years, and he said he wouldn't come on unless we did certain, we sent him the questions, and then he had certain other sort of demands, and we said yes to all of them, and then he still said no.
He said no, I know. But what you've just been saying, though, I would just wanted to say, to interject on this, is that one thing that all of those jobs that you just mentioned have in common is this idea that the wages are low on the lower echelons, with the promise, with the tiny, tiny chance that you'll make it big. And then, but that is very, 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 very rare, isn't it?
Yeah.
But people being human beings, the way people are, they just think, well, no, I've got a chance. It could happen to me, etc., etc. And therefore they will accept the lower wage conditions. I don't know, because it's the creative industries. They dangle that in front of, not dangle it in front of you, but, that's what keeps the pay so low.
Yeah, but also comedy's different from theatre, and not so much from music, but definitely from theatre, in that the middle level is badly paid, but it's also very wide in terms of there's more comedy clubs going on every weekend in little towns and villages and major cities all over this country than there are theatres, than there are music venues, than there are cabaret events going on, or aerialists. Because Equity, at one thing, they put comedians in with this lot, and I'm thinking, but we're such a much bigger industry, where every weekend there's more comedians plying their trade than any of these other sort of activities.
Yeah.
What sort of organisation do you think could comics get together to increase their wages?
I mean, we tried twice. There's one movement within the 90s, and I thought that might sort of take off, that was the mid-90s. But then again, that was riven with divisions. So I think I've told you the story. There's a guy on there who was, he'd actually an ex-shop steward from the Tyneside shipyards, and he knew whereof he spoke. The act's name was Eric the Heretic. He was actually quite funny, but he was still sort of like a jobbing, sort of open spotty actor. I mean.
Yeah.
But then he'd stood up to speak in the meeting, and everyone was just going,
Don't want to listen to him.
No, listen to him.
He's not a headliner.
He died on his arse at Banana Cabaret,
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, obviously, I don't know whether Equity is the answer. Probably isn't.
Well, it says it is, without showing any. Because I was involved in the second one, which was after the Fold of Jongleurs, where the guild started, and the comedy guild, and that fell apart because comics being comics, we have such a high opinion of our abilities. Well, why do we need to pay professional people to represent us? We could do it ourselves as volunteers. And as I said at the meeting, me with also my trade union background and not being listened to, saying, that's an idiot idea. You'll be lucky if it lasts 8 months. Because, your first volunteer will say after 8 months, I fancy a bit of a rest. And then your next volunteer will only last 4 months. And then you might end up in a situation which did happen, where you have someone then contacting the guild, and the person they're talking to on the other end of the phone is the person they're complaining about.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, there does need to be, we always say this, don't we? But because otherwise, unless nothing does change, I was going to say that you'll get no new young people coming through, but that's actually not true, is it? It's almost like the pipeline. The lemmings will still come through, won't they?
Yeah, but it's instead
the wages will be going down and down and down, and then people say, "Oh yeah, I really want to do this. Really want to do this."
It's side hustle. Everyone has to have a job. I mean, I was comedy only, so I've been going 22 years now, and only the last 3, I've had a job on the side, a proper job on the side, which is now turned into a full-time job. I know other comics tell me, don't tell people, don't tell them you're a comedian. But, now I've got this proper job, my mum's happier, and I don't even know what to do with the money. But I can be a little bit more honest, because I've less to lose now. So I'm going to be a bit more honest about, it is, I think, we have to address the promoters, some of which are lovely people that we like, but how can they justify paying the same money for 30 years? And it can't be individual comics that do it, because then you'll just get blacklisted. So it has to be, we have to come up with some organisation that properly represents us and pay money into it, so we can employ people who are professional to do this on our behalf. That's my thing. I say it every so often, and I get other comics going, well, why do we need that? I could just do it on my own. So, and
it hasn't worked so far, has it?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I'm thinking is, when I do voices, it's always this bloke. It's always the same bloke. I don't know why I keep doing the same bloke, but I do.
Oh, what do I need that for?
I don't know.
It sounds a bit like, he sounds like a cross between what's the guy from On the Buses? Blakey.
Oh, Blakey.
Oh, I hate you. Oh, I hate you.
He's an old gig from the 70s. That's what I've been doing him. So that's what I think. The only way we could do it, or we just accept it's a bit of a part-time job. The comedy circuit is, the bit that we're talking about, is your mixed bill comedy night. Could be anywhere in the country, village hall, top of a pub, you name it, hairdressers, could be anywhere. And that is a certain part of the comedy industry. And it's the part where most professional comedians, ply their trade and earn their living. There are different circuits, obviously. There's,
there's the touring, the Soho Theatre.
Yes.
So you have to pronounce it like that, Soho Theatre. Those sort of, as you say, like solo one-person shows. Fair enough. I mean, there's a certain amount of. There's
Asian, there's black comedy, there's storytelling, there's female-only nights, there's sketch nights, there's improv nights, there's even old-school frilly shirts, bow tie, where's me missus sort of nights. They're still going as well. They're all part of different circuits within a mainstream comedy circuit.
Yeah, it's true. So there's. At least there's about 7 or 8 different circuits running simultaneously, really. Don't forget, by the way, I often think with those, the touring shows, and this is not meant, I know it might come across like I'm being, bloody hell, but a lot of that is front, when you'll have comics touring in small theatres, still not making that much money, But the perception of them is that, oh, they've broken out and they're doing the touring. It's really hard to monetize it. It really is. But they're not going to turn around and go, yeah, I played a 200-seater theatre, but only 10 people came. You can't do that.
But you could do art centres up and down the country and community theatre venues. And, yes, they stick you in a room that holds 50. And if you get half full, you're happy. So I noticed that a venue, which was set up by one of the big four venue owners in Edinburgh, set up a London night, and it's called £5 Comedy Night. And I said to the person who told me this, well, what acts are doing this night? And they said, well, apparently it's TV names. And I'm thinking, well, how much are they getting paid then for doing this if it's only £5?
Well, yeah, they're not getting paid because they can afford to do it because they're very well off and they can afford to do nights like that.
But by them doing nights like that, what's it saying to this well-heeled audience in Camden, in London, that are going to be paying £5 to see TV acts? They're thinking, well, wait a minute, why should I pay £20 to see people I don't know in another part of London? And it also has an effect on what we all get paid. And that lack of unity with the rest of us who are slogging our guts out. You should be humming the red flag as I do this little bit here.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I mean, we know there's a certain other club in London that are, crowdfunded to get where they are. And now they're doing, again, mixed bill nights where they pay fuck all,
Yeah, but the acts are prepared to do this. And I think this is what Nina Benjamin was saying when we interviewed her. She was saying about acts who do this. Why are they taking these gigs? They're ruining the circuit for others. It's not completely and utterly true, but it does have an effect. I'm going to say it has an effect. And that's why so many people who, if they come up to you at the end of a gig, how many of them say to you, so can you make a living actually doing this? People actually say this to you.
Yeah, of course they do. But I find it shocking sometimes when people think that we're all... There's a very well-known, I can't say who it is, but he's quite posh. He lives around here. And he's involved in the entertainment bit, not something else. But he thinks that comedians are all fucking rolling in it. He just goes, oh yeah, you guys, you're on megabucks for that. No, we're not. Where is this fucking this idea that we're all fucking exceedingly rich on the proceeds of comedy come from? I don't know where it's come from.
Yeah. Well, I think he just sounds like an idiot. Most normal people think that we hardly get paid at all. We all live together. We all drive in a
big house. Like you mean like in the film Help in the Beatles?
Yes, exactly like that. Apart from there's not 4, there's 40 people in there.
I love that when you go, so do you all travel around together and do the same gig?
I wish we did.
Yes,
We'd save money. I actually knew a promoter who once had the idea of doing exactly that. He called it Comedy in a Van, where the same 4 comics would be going around the country in the van doing their gigs.
There's a flaw with that because one of the comics would end up killing one of the other comics by the 28th tour of Britain. There would be a fight breaking out.
Yeah.
But, and I was going to say, well, it doesn't apply to other jobs, and of course it does.
Yeah.
There's that famous song, the working class can kiss my arse. I've got the foreman's job at last. That's as old as the hills. That's just something from about the 1930s. So it's always gone on in that sense, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And what you're saying is that there needs to be more solidarity, because then they always can do that, where they just pick 1 or 2 people off. From the rest of them.
The star system, in a way, I've got no problem with, because it exists in every other form of entertainment. So people will be plucked. It's just that we are in this lucky... As I said, music doesn't have a comparable system where that you could tour the country and get 3 figures for doing a gig every weekend. Doesn't work that way in music.
No, it doesn't.
And arts, people who do fine art, can't keep on putting exhibitions every weekend in different parts of the country and get free figures for it. We do have we're lucky to have a system, even if it's imperfect, that employs at least 2,000 comics every weekend.
Yeah.
That is slightly amazing. That people are getting paid for doing something that they love doing. But if we want to improve it, we do have to come together, and that's from the top to the very bottom. In terms of people who get paid, there's no point Open Spots joining into this because you're not getting paid.
No.
What can you do? If you're an Open Spot, you can't withdraw your labour because no one would care. In fact, people might be happier. There's another sort of strand to this that I noticed in the articles, which was the fact that people do have to have jobs, or, as it put in the article, have parents that will support them.
Yeah.
And saying, well, this is a reason why there's so many privileged voices in comedy, which there is. There's more privileged voices in comedy now than when I started 22 years ago.
There's lots of posh, for want of a better word, the ones that just do the Edinburgh Festival every year and play Soho Theatre, and, mummy and daddy will give them some money and then they can just survive on that.
Yeah,
there's loads of them.
And quite rightly, I suppose, they don't want to play the circuit where anybody could turn up. People that might look and sound different to them, and be a completely different demographic. Why shouldn't they stick to playing London and Brighton and to people who look and sound just like them? It's sensible thing to do. It's also sensible when promoters do that. It is sensible. There's, everyone identifies immediately with Josh if Josh is also sitting in the audience with his girlfriend Josh. It's going to be... We all prefer that echo chamber lifestyle, don't we, these days?
Yeah, but as you say, it's it means that lots of working class voices they wouldn't bother doing it because it's not, they can't survive.
Yeah, and I think that's bad for comedy. I think it's bad for TV, but I did sort of weigh in on this, saying something similar about the Saturday Night Live UK and the fact that most of them are still Oxbridge. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean that they're not wonderful performers, because there's been lots of wonderful Oxbridge performers. At the same time, comics moaning about who's on telly. The undercurrent of any of that is, why isn't it me? Why aren't I on telly? That's what they're really saying.
You're doing that voice again.
I know. I should do a posher voice. But then I'd be on telly, wouldn't I?
I think that's about it, isn't it, really?
I think so. What we're going to do, we still haven't worked out. Well, no. Comedians come together, that's what we're saying. Do you think it would ever happen?
I hope it will, but I don't know. This is my honest answer. I don't know, and I don't want to be that cynical about human nature because I believe that we are. Well, this is getting very deep. We're both capable of good and bad. Sometimes the bad wins, and sometimes the good wins. Ken Goodwin, he was good.
He was fantastic, wasn't he? Really. I can't remember his catchphrase, but
well, his catchphrase was "Steady on."
I'm going to do his voice from now on.
Oh, yeah. Who books that?
Who's there? Oh, steady on. Oh.
Oh, God. That was a proper old school reference, Ken Goodwin, for people who don't
I do
know.
Think for the young listeners, that they're probably...
Sorry.
Yeah, just stick it in the YouTube. He probably won't even be on there.
It's no relation to Matthew Goodwin, who's the Reform UK candidate for the Denton and Gorton by-election, so...
Once again, a really weird but precise bit of information.
Yeah. No relation. It's like, I hate immigration. Oh, steady on. Anyway, that is obscure. I know it's very obscure. But, I think that's the end.
Yeah, this is the end. And if you're someone who loves comedy, why don't you increase our wages by sending us money to the usual places? We have them in the description of our YouTube. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you'll also find there's a bit of writing somewhere that will give you instructions how to send money to poor, needy comedians. This is an appeal on comedians.
Yes.
Paul has been doing comedy for 22 years and he's still hungry.
Here in the natural environment, the comedians gather outside Facebook Pro Comedy Gigs page, where the promoter will toss a little bit of meat like that.
Of course, yeah. If people paid us for it, we wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, it'd spoil it, wouldn't it?
He bravely lied.
So, thank you very much for listening and watching and giving us all your attention.
I think another thing I wouldn't mind happening as a habit is that if you really enjoy a comedian when you see them live, hand them money personally.
Like a tip.
Yeah.
Like a tip, yeah.
So just go up to, I really enjoyed that. I know it's that voice again, but it's me.
I
really enjoyed that. So, here's a 20. Stick that in your pocket.
Stick that, yeah.
Have a drink on me, mate.
Yeah. That's right. In tribute to Tommy Cooper, it's actually a tea bag. What? Maybe that's quite valuable.
Yeah,
tea
personal
bag,
tip your comics. That's what I want to start. Something that happens in comedy nights.
Oh, that's funny, because at the end of every set, then the comic would just go, "Oh, thanks very much for listening, everybody," and then just stand there and go. Like waiters, Yeah.
This has been the end of our discussion about money. Let's hope we earn money from just talking about money. We won't. Let's say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
They said you should have been here last week.